The wheel of time turns, and ages come and pass, leaving memories that become legend. Welcome to Dragonmount. I'm Kathy Campbell, and once again, it's just me. I was lucky enough to interview Alana's warder. This is the great Maxim, played by the incomparable Taylor Napier. We spent some time together asking some wonderful questions. I hope you really enjoy, especially not just talking about her warders, of course, finding out why Alana has so many snacks. So stay tuned, and I hope you enjoy.
Thank you for joining us on Dragonmount. We know how busy you are, and it's the holiday season, so having this time is just really appreciated. For taking the time to be with us.
No, thank you for having me. This is really exciting.
All right. So Maxim as Owain is a character in the book series that we don't really know very well compared to many of the other characters. Did you feel it was more difficult to play a character who doesn't have a distinctly memorable personality from the book series? Or was it easier to start from scratch compared to your fellow cast members like Priyanka or Daniel, whose characters people know so very well?
I find it to be so much easier. Or at least so much less pressure. I get to be a little bit more creative in my choices because there's not like a character already on a page that I kind of have to figure out how to portray, if you're portraying someone like Lan, how do you do that? And also stay true to the story we're telling in the show, but stay true to the character in the books and kind of merge those two things together. And there's also so much pressure as an actor on those sorts of things to kind of get it right. It's nice not to have that. It's nice to kind of be able to create like a kind of a new addition, if you will, to the wheel. Like Maxim is in the books kind of technically under a different character name, but it's fun to see who he is and kind of add to the story in that way.
Yeah. What were some specific pieces that you were able to pull out and say, well, I'm, defining Maxim as this type of a person, and how much input into the script and how that character was on screen?
Well, I am lucky with him, Maxim, that this first, one of the first lines I think I say in the show was, except me, of course, I look fun. And so that gives you a little bit of insight into who he is and into like how he approaches life, and especially in that first scene around the campfire. There's a lot of clues into kind of, he definitely likes to have fun. He likes to entertain people. And, I think ultimately in that scene, he's also sensing a little bit of Nynaeve's discomfort or her like unsure of what this world is and what she stumbled into. And so I think he's trying just to like, make some jokes, make her laugh, to, bring her guard down a little bit. And so that kind of is where I started to build Maxim from. I think warders all have their own individual strengths, and some of them are very good fighters. And I think all of them are very good fighters, obviously, but, some people provide different things in terms of their personality. And, Maxim just happens to be charming. So, if you're in Tarvalon and you need something done and you just need some charm to get it and not some force, you just send Maxim in.
I love that. And is that something that you kind of pulled from yourself to be able to be like, this is Maxim? Or did you have to like work really? I mean, clearly you're not charming at all.
No, I really had to work hard. I'm a total ass in real life. And so, yeah, no, it was really hard work. It's really hard to find that kind of within myself. But I hope that I'm achieving it.
Well, absolutely. 100%. I know everyone is just in love with Maxim, and also the interaction between Alana and Ivan, like all of that together. And from the very beginning, the press release has kind of indicated that your bond would include a sexual or romantic connection. Yeah. And it's made pretty clear in episode 4 that Alana has a polyamorous relationship with her warders. Mm-hmm. We love that the show depicts it because not only is it true to Robert Jordan's books, but it also helps normalize these types of relationships. How important was this to you when you were auditioning for the role and then recreating it on screen?
Yeah, I think it was obviously important in that I knew going into the audition, because you obviously see it. I mean, the audition scene that I did was the scene around the campfire. You know that in the character description, it's in there. So yes, I know. And so going into the audition, you try to think about how to best portray that. And you always think about this when you're trying to play a character, but specifically things like this of how to portray it. You can still make jokes about things, but that portrays the character in a way that isn't demeaning or isn't looking down or isn't hurtful. You know, you want to, if you're making jokes about those characters, you want to make the jokes that they would make about themselves, and you want to have them make those jokes. But kind of the thing that I love about the three of them so much, and you see it a lot, is that as the series goes forward, maybe, is that you know, they are very much in love, and they're very much a part of a whole. And that was very important to all three of us, is to present them as like, while yes, Alana is the Aes Sedai in the relationship, and there's obviously some different power dynamics within the outside of our relationship, within the relationship, we all hold the same amount of power. It's not Alana says this, or Ivan says this, or Maxim says this. We all are very much equals in that way. And so I think that makes it for a really interesting kind of power dynamic between Aes Sedai and Warders that you don't necessarily see with some of the other pairings or grouping.
Yeah, I love how all of the interactions between the Aes Sedai and Warders, Aes Sedai, it's a individual plural. It's fine. But Aes Sedai doesn't sound right. Yeah. Now I'm gonna question everything about my life.
We like to do tongue twisters with Aes Sedai on set.
I love the aspect that you have all of these different relationships between the Aes Sedai and their Warders on screen, and that's just really wonderful. But my question is, how does this portray to your relationships off screen? Are you and Emmanuel like constantly taking care of Priyanka? Like, hey, I'm at the dentist. Can you make sure Priyanka eats today?
I can't tell you how many times I get a text message from Priyanka being like, I've locked myself out of my house. Can you help me? And I'm like, well, I am, you can call production, you can call someone, you can call your landlord. I don't have your keys, Priyanka. Maybe she should give me a set of her keys just to make sure that she can get into her house. She's, yeah. So you definitely find, it is funny actually with all of the Aes Sedai Warder relationships off screen, is that you do find that there is a mirror to a certain extent.
Good clarification there.
There's a mirror to their relationship on screen a little bit, which is really interesting. It's really interesting to see how that developed. But I often find with actors that being friends with the people you're friends with in the show, on the show, and then you know, not friends with your enemies, it is weird how you psychologically play out the scenes from the episode in your real life.
In the show, Alana is almost always seen eating. Was that a choice in the script or something that was decided between the three of you? Because, like, you know, the passing of the Fae in episode 6, where you're like making sure that she's eating, was that kind of a holdover from like, we need to make sure that she's fed, or a decision in the script, or just kind of?
I think that comes from Priyanka herself. One day on set, we were filming the Krene funeral scene. And it was very cold. And so we have these big jackets that they give us to make sure that we're warm in between takes. And Priyanka turned to a production assistant and she was just like, can you just make sure that like all of my pockets in this coat are filled with snacks in case I get hungry? And the person was like, what? And so, so I think that's something the writers have picked up on about Priyanka and then put it into the show. It would be my guess.
I love that. And so, of course, all of your pockets are full of snacks.
Oh, always. Right? It's very important. Although maybe not fake, because they wouldn't survive in a pocket for very long. But it's very important to make sure that she's happy.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about Maxim himself a little bit. You know, we've talked about everyone else. We would love to know more about the weapons training. The official X-Ray bonus content indicates that Maxim's weapons of choice are the spear and shield. Did you have any input on this focus? What sort of workouts, practices did you go through to become really familiar with them?
No, I didn't have any input. That was just I sort of got there on the first day of stunt training, and they're like, here you go. And I was like, all right.
Okay.
The spear is it's a very hard weapon to actually learn to use. And so it took a long time to kind of get it right. And I'm not sure that I think I did as best job as I could. I probably, if someone who's actually a spear expert probably looks at me and goes, meh. But I think I did a good job in the time that I had. But we went through, our stunt team, Jan and all the people at Filmca are really incredible. They do so many wonderful, wonderful things. And we're lucky enough actually on this show to have quite a bit of time to rehearse these fight scenes. And so we rehearsed that for, probably 2.5 weeks. And it's a much longer sequence. I think that's maybe one of the things that's hard to see in the episode, because it's all kind of cut and directed from Nynaeve's point of view, is that we actually ran it so many times. It took like 4 days to shoot, and we ran it probably 30 to 40, 50 times. And it's so we would start and we would just run the whole thing over and over and over again, and they would pick up different camera angles as we did it. And so that made it a very endurance heavy situation because we were running uphill. So the training was really, really important. But yeah, no, it was at least 2 or 3 hours a day of trying to flip around the spear, dropping it, hitting Manny in the head with it. It still got some bruises probably. Manny has a bow and arrow, and he's pulling it, and they're, because of the reality of the situation, he's trying to fire it, and so there, a lot of the shots he does have a bow and arrow in his hand, but because they don't necessarily know where it's supposed to be going, or where he's supposed to be firing, a lot of those shots are actually CGI later. But he's posing with it. And so I whined a little bit and basically said, I have the much harder job. I actually have to make contact and get the fight right every time. He's a real trooper for listening to me bitch and moan during the stunt training phase.
I love that. Okay, so besides the shutdown, we're going to talk a little real life now. How did COVID impact the way you filmed different scenes? And is the feel on set different than it was before COVID?
Yeah, it's definitely different. I was lucky enough to have completed all of my scenes for season 1 before the shutdown actually happened on our show. I've been on other shows and other projects, and obviously maybe filming on this more during COVID. And I think that is, I think that it's changed a little bit of how people interact with each other and how people, how close people are. Unfortunately, there's definitely especially as an actor or anyone in the production, it can change anything at the drop of a hat. If someone tests positive, they can't shoot. If it's an actor, then they can't shoot. So you may have been prepping a scene for a week, and then suddenly someone tests positive and they can't do it, and you can't do it. And then the schedule gets rearranged. So you might not be shooting that scene for, a month maybe. And so that can really change some things and change how you approach your work. But I wouldn't say that there's a ton of difference in terms of on-set culture. It's just you do sort of feel even more like an asshole as an actor, because once you're in makeup, the actors don't wear mask as much because of it could mess up with the makeup, or you're going on and off set and you're filming scenes, and so you get to see what all the other actors look like, but everyone else has to wear masks the entire time. And people who I've worked with people for months where I haven't seen their face, and so you feel really bad because you're like, oh, this is Katie. She does my hair and makeup. I've literally never seen her face. And so you're like, oh, and so then when you finally see it, when she goes to take a drink of water or something, you're like, wait, that's what you look like? I've had this for months idea of what your face is, and it's wrong. It's completely wrong. So that's kind of the only real change. But I think we were lucky enough for a lot of us. It might be very different for people who started, we're filming the second season now. And so started in season 2 to feel as a part of everything. I don't know if that happened. That wasn't we were lucky that, we got to have a little bit of time before COVID.
So if you were an Aes Sedai in the White Tower, What Aja would you choose?
Oh.
Clearly, I'm green.
Clearly.
Gotta, be in character, but I'd love to know what you would
I would like to think that I would be a green or a blue, like that I would be cool enough to be, a spy or a warrior. But realistically, if I'm being very, very honest with myself, and there's nothing wrong with this, I'm just being very, very honest with myself. I'd probably be a brown, maybe a gray. I'm much more of a homebody and much quieter than I think I would need to be, and I'm not as aggressive as I think I would need to be a green. And so yeah, probably a brown or a gray.
You sound so apologetic.
I just think in my head I would like to say that I'm a green. For my ego, but if I'm being honest,
well, it's good. It's always good to be honest with yourself.
Yeah.
Other than Maxim, what character from the show do you most enjoy watching, and why?
That's interesting. Everyone does such a great job. This is so hard. Obviously, it's really amazing to get to watch Rosamund and Maureen work. It's an incredible experience as an actor. But it's also really amazing to get to watch a lot of people work. The scene in episode 6 where in the White Tower in the hall with Rosamund and Priyanka and Kate and Sophie. It's such a powerhouse to watch all of them, and it's so fun to watch them go at it and to just really, really get into it as actors. We filmed the scene we called it the Aes Sedai High scene right after where Rosamund, where Maureen and Alana are coming out of the hall of the tower, and I hand her the fig, and then they have the confrontation with Leandrin. So I filmed that later in the afternoon, so I came a little early and watched them do that scene, and part of that scene, and it was really fun. So I think all of them. I think all of the Aes Sedai are really fun to watch, and also everyone else.
It's a great answer. It's all good. All right, I think we are out of time, and I want to thank you so much for joining us. I know you're busy, and this just really means a lot to us, so thank you.
No, thank you for having me. This was a lot of fun. You guys are great. Rafe's mom watches you all the time, and she's like, "Oh, I saw the guys from Dragonmount. I saw, well, in Dragonmount they're saying this." I'm like, "Well,
oh my gosh."
I'm like, "You do have a direct line, so
right?
You don't have to get your news from Dragonmount about the show. You're more than welcome to. It's good."
The fact that she knew who I was just like, I'm sorry, what? It was wonderful. Yeah. And, those moments that we had of you helping her down the stairs, I hold them close to my heart. So thank you. This has been absolutely lovely. You're a pleasure. And I'm glad that you got to spend time with us.
No, I'm glad to have done it. You guys are great.